Okay, so today we'll be discussing a sutta called Citta, Citta Sutta. Citta is a name used for mind, but there are different Pali words. Specifically, there are three Pali words used for discussing about the mind. Citta is one of them. Citta, Mano, and Vijnana. So these are the three Pali words used for discussing about the mind. So this sutta says that uh, the whole world is led by the mind, or because of the impact of the mind. So let's take a look at of the Pali stanza, two stanzas. The first stanza is what the Deva, the deity, said as a question, and the second stanza is the answer given by the Buddha, as what we saw in the past, discussions in the suttas. Kenassu niyati loko, loko is the world. Kenassu parikassati, kissassa eka dhammassa, sabbeva vasa manvaguti. By what's the world led around? By what is it dragged here and there? What's the one thing that has all under its control? That was the question. So in the question, there are a lot of things involved. Like Deva says that everything that is dragged here and there, everything that is led around. So what is that one thing? So the Buddha answers to the Deva, deity, Chittena niyati loko, Chittena parikassati, Chittassa eka dhammassa, sabbeva vasa manvaguti. The world is led around by mind, but we have to separate out this world called Chitta from mind, because in English you say mind for everything, one mind, but in the Buddhist teachings we have to find out what would be the most appropriate word out of those three in this context. By mind, it's dragged here and there. Mind is the one thing that has all under its control. Okay. So now, if you take a closer look at of most of the suttas in the Buddhist teachings, we find Buddha says Citta is what we have to pay more attention to. Mano is basically a faculty that we are born with. Vijnana, the other Pali term, Vijnana is a stage where chittas become in a process. So like an elevated higher state of the mind. Anyways, Buddha says Citta is a quality of the mind. Now, how do we know the quality of the mind? Like our mind, the mind that we're born with, is facing different, states. Let's say, if I'm into greed, if I'm into hatred, if I'm into delusion, if I'm into non-greed, if I'm into non-hatred, if I'm into non-ignorance, let's say if I'm into generosity, if I'm into loving kindness, if I'm into wisdom. So what Buddha says is the mind takes different states based on these things. So Buddha says these are the chittas. So let's say when your mind is with generosity, so it's a state of your mind. It's called a citta, one citta. When your mind is angry, so it's a state of the mind, that means a citta. Okay, so that's how we need to take a look at. Now, in short, we can say the emotive side, let's say emotional side of the mind is citta. The intellectual side of the sense, the whole sense, is the mano. Okay, so we have to go that way. Now I will bring up something else. In most of the suttas, Buddha talks about a luminous mind. A luminous mind. That means a radiant mind. So what is this luminous radiant mind? So he says it is called pabhassara. So our mind, when our mind is in its highest state, that is called pabhassara. Usually, when we are born, our minds is naturally with this state called luminous state. It's so pure. But what happens when we start to live, then there are incoming defilements coming into the mind. I mean, those are chittas, right? Those are different chittas, states. Those chittas coming onto the mind, and then they get either good or bad. Then that luminous, radiant mind, get affected by those incoming defilements. In the Theravada teachings, the lineage that we represent, we don't talk about the exact interpretation of what is pabhassara, luminous mind, but in the Abhidhamma, higher teachings of the Buddha, that means the senior monks, they defended the early, these suttas with a different set of books called Abhidhamma, and they call this pabhassara chitta or luminous mind to be the bhavanga chitta. So bhavanga is the thought, is the mind that we take with when we die, and it's which came from the previous life. They said pabhassara, luminous mind, is what we brought from the past life and what that we take with when we die. In the Mahayana teachings, they say, no, the luminous mind, this pure mind or mind of clear light, is bodhicitta or tathagata garbha. So bodhicitta is, in the Mahayana teachings, there's a different lineage which came after Theravada. They say we all can become Buddha. So the nature of that becoming Buddha, that eligibility of becoming Buddha, is common to everybody. Everybody can become Buddha. So that nature is called tathagata garbha. When someone understands that everyone is eligible for becoming a Buddha, you mean a full Buddha, not a normal Buddha, full Buddha, then they make a beginning with a bodhicitta, a thought of becoming a Buddha. So Mahayana lineage says this luminous mind, pabhassara chitta, is either bodhicitta or tathagata garbha, or both bodhicitta, tathagata garbha. I just want to tell you what it means. Anyways, so chitta, the state of the mind, is very pure when we are born, but over time it gets affected. It doesn't get normally affected the way it is, but there are reasons why it gets affected this way and that way, because the way how we face, the way we handle those incoming defilements. Now, if we can remember the place where Buddha talks about the mindfulness, Satipatthana Sutta. In the Satipatthana Sutta, Buddha talks about one aspect of mindfulness called mindfulness based on the chitta. And he says chitta means basically state of mind. So these states are like generosity, loving kindness, wisdom, or greed, hatred, delusion, or whatever the other defilements or non-defilement, good states of the mind. So he also, our chittas can get distracted, they can be contracted or unworkable, they can get grown great, they can get composed, that means they can get concentrated, or the opposite. So what we need to learn is, now we know what is a chitta. It's a state of mind. Especially I would call it, it's the emotional side of the, or the qualitative side of the mind. Okay, so the mind is this big thing, and inside the mind, thoughts thoughts happen. And then what happens? Your mind can become either good or bad, but chittas do that difference. Now, what Buddha says is, these chittas, the mind that is employed with these chittas, either good or bad, are what lead the world, what lead the whole thing, what lead everything in the universe. Because we always become intentional more oftentimes, and then we come up with a bunch of thoughts, let's say chittas, and then they employ in the mind, and then whatever the benefits, advantages, disadvantages, or effects, results happen. And Buddha says, if anybody can take care of the mind, the thoughts, the chittas, then that person is having this personal freedom, personal relaxation, as well as he or she is giving that to other people, to the whole society. And the Dhammapada, the book which you call handbook of the Buddhists, like, there are handbooks for other religious people, right? Holy books, right? So we call the Dhammapada is the holy, the handbook of the Buddhists. In this book, the third chapter is about the chittas, and Buddha talks about how to take care of the thoughts. The most important thing is, Buddha never says you need to control your thoughts or the control this whole mind or the consciousness. What Buddha says? Buddha says we need to take care of the mind. We need to save the mind. Now, when you say you need to save the life, you need to save your life, you need to take positive steps to take care of you. Right? You are not pressurizing you. When you say you need to save you. So in the same way, we need to save the thoughts, chittas, so that our mind is having a very good time. I would read couple English translation of the thoughts when they are better taken care of. Whatever an enemy may do to an enemy, so one enemy is doing harm to the other enemy, or haters one to another, far worse is the harm from one's own wrongly directed chitta. So when your chittas are wrongly directed, that means with defilements, then that will give rise to kind of a harm which is far worse than an enemy is to do harm to another enemy. What about the opposite side? Neither mother, nor father, nor any other relative can do one as much good as one's own well-directed chitta. So that means, like our parents, our siblings, they are really, taking care of. They never wish, most of us, I guess, they never wish our downfall. They never wish our, they never wish bad luck to us. So in that case, so when your chittas are properly, positively positioned, directed, the benefits and the well-being that will give rise to you is much higher than what you can get from your parents and other good beings that you know. So see the beneficial side. And one more stanza about the chitta. The chitta, hard to take care. We know that it's hard to take care. Flighty, alighting where it wishes. It goes wherever it wishes. One does well to tame. Tame is like a safeguard, save. The disciplined mind, the disciplined chitta brings happiness. Always, always, only the disciplined chitta bring happiness. Like a fish out of water, thrown on dry ground, the chitta thrashes about, trying to escape Mara's command. Well, Mara is a concept where we talk about when we are into defilements, when we are into, when we are stuck with sensual pleasures, we say it's Mara. So we can run away from the Mara because we know where we want to go. Okay, so that itself says that the the chittas, which you call thoughts, chittas, which employ the mind, need to be saved, need to be taken care of, not to control, not to pressurize. Because when you say states of the mind, chittas have energy. You can't destroy energy. What you can do is you can transform energies, either good or bad, into a positive, wholesome side of your mind. So that's where you can, keep taking care of your thoughts so that the mind works really well, and then the consciousness. Those are different stages. When the mind is good with the thoughts, then you're having good consciousness types, and then thereby you are really good. Your mind, your thoughts, and your mind and your consciousness, they all work really well, so that relaxation, peace, and at the end, liberation, called nirvana, is there. Make sense? Any questions?
Well, there are three words in the
Pali.
language for mind, and one of them is for the intellectual mind, the other one is for the
Emotive side, emotional,
emotional.
yeah.
And what's the third one?
Consciousness,
Consciousness.
vijnana.
And consciousness, when mindfulness.
So I would let me tell you one thing.
Okay.
So these three overlapping words discuss the whole process of the mind. So you can't separate them out. They are talking about the mind process at different stages. Now let's say when you have thoughts, they employ in the mind. When the mind is developed, you are taking that mind to consciousness types. So this whole mind process. But it's like this. It's like a being is just born, and then that being is growing up. You say it's a child, it's a young guy, young adult, a senior. The same individual, but you look at this being from different stages of the life, age groups of the life, but the same being. So we call a life. In this process is the mind process. One important thing is, in the Buddhist teachings, there is not one mind. Like the thoughts happen in one mind, but mind is a process. So the problem is one has to really know there are three words to talk about the mind process: chitta, mano, and vijnana. So when we know there are three stages of understanding this mind process, then we know different stages are really good, and we can take care of that mind, the stages of the mind process really good as well. Mm-hmm. But when you know that you are so distracted, that's where you can't take care of the chittas, not the mind. Chittas, because Buddha says chittas are the states of the mind. If you will really work on the chittas, then you can take care of the mind really good. The chittas are what we can immediately work with. Buddha says these category called chittas are the ones which closely associate with the intention. Let's say when you are intentional, the immediate thing to come up is a thought, is a chitta, not the mind. Because when chittas keep coming, they associate with that big mind. So the place where we can take care of the mind is the thoughts, chittas. So if you can take care of chittas really good, you have a good mind, you have a good consciousness, and your process, whole mind process is really good. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's close this program by sharing all the good karmas with the departed relatives and the deities. Idamme ñāti nang hotu sukita huntu ñātayo. Idamme ñāti nang hotu sukita huntu ñātayo. Idamme ñāti nang hotu sukita huntu ñātayo. May all the good karmas be shared by all the deities as well. May they be happy and peaceful. May they bless and protect all of us. May they also attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ettavata cha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbi deva anumodantu sabba sangpatti siddhya. Ettavata cha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbi bhuta anumodantu sabba sangpatti siddhya. Ettavata cha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sangpatti siddhya. Akasattha ca bummatta devanaga mahindika punyantang chirang rakkhantu loka sasanang akasang rakkhantu desanang akasattha ca bummatta devanaga mahindika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu mang paranti. Finally, let's make a great wish. May all the good karmas we've been accumulating so far help all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Abhivadana siddhisse niccang vaddha pachayino chattaru dhamma vaddanti ayuvannu sukhang balang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminate samicchatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, let's bow down, greet.